Well, good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. I feel like a headmistress here. Um, I have come on today to talk about 17 hats, and I wanted to show you what its capabilities are as a celebrant who has used this for 2 years now. I actually started using it on the 14th of February 2 years ago, so I know exactly when it was. So yeah, I'm at my 2 years of using this, full on using it, and I absolutely love it as a program. So I wanted to spend some time just letting you know how it works, how I get it to work. And it does work differently depending on whether you're doing weddings and funerals, but you can do it all in the same on the same platform. And I've managed to get it to work okay. So, and I absolutely love it. So let me start sharing my screen first of all and take you through my little system. Right, so this is 17 Hats Workshop with Justine. I have put a date on the suite of information simply because with all programs things do change over time, but essentially it hasn't changed enormously in the 2 years I've been using it. So what is 17 Hats
You're
is,
not shared yet.
am I not sharing? Thank
No.
you very much. Why am I not sharing? Hmm. Well, there we are. Thank you. Thanks for that. Please do jump in if there is anything, because I'm going to be flicking around all sorts of different screens when I'm talking today. So I'm going to be showing you not only the presentation, but I'm going to be showing you my 17 Hats screen. So what is 17 Hats? Well, 17 Hats, and I'm going to move my toolbar away, was designed as a customer relationship management tool for photographers. That sounds like a really long word, but it's basically how you manage your customers from before they become customers all the way through the process until they come out at the other end and you've got a happy client that you've worked with, or it's someone that on this occasion doesn't want to work with you but may come to work with you again in the future. So it's how you manage that process all the way through. And it was designed for photographers, I think specifically wedding photographers, but it was designed for photographers. Now, as celebrants, a number of us have taken this package and seen how we can make it work. Primarily, I think a lot of people used it for weddings, but when I came on board, I do weddings, funerals, and namings. So I wanted to have a package that would be able to handle all my different clients, no matter where they come from or how they work. Now, I am now on the Premier package, and up until I think it was probably only a week ago, there were three different packages that you could buy. There was the basic, which I wouldn't have recommended. There was the standard, which I do recommend, and the Premier package, which is the all singing, all dancing, which is great. And I upgraded last year to the Premier package, which allows me to set up a second brand, and third brand. So I've been able to set up a brand, which means I can now share my screens with you without divulging confidential information. So what you will see is not my working 17 hats, but one that I have populated with various bits and pieces. Um, the Premier package is now the only available package. So some of you may have already bought 17 hats and maybe on a standard package. That will remain. But as I understand it, and I spoke to 17 Hats yesterday, the Premier package is now the only package available. So anyone buying will buy the Premier package, which is more expensive. But if you work it out to a monthly amount as to how much you're spending, it's, I think, for a PA system, which is basically what you're having. You're having a PA sitting here in your computer. I don't think it's a bad investment. I think it's a very worthwhile investment. And I'll go on to explain why more about that shortly. So you may be on the standard package. If you haven't got a package yet, you will be put straight onto the Premier package. But they are essentially the same things. There's some things that are more limited on the standard package, but if in time you want to upgrade, then that's always an option for you, and it will just carry on as you're working, but just with more options. So it's a full customer relationship management tool. There are various customer relationship management tools out there. And this is the one that, as celebrants, a lot of us have adopted. I think there are some others out there that other celebrants have talked about, but this is the one I know and I enjoy. So why do I use it? Well, it helps me manage my business. It helps improve the interactions I have with my customers. And the reason I'm saying that is I can respond really quickly to any inquiries that come in. For anyone that wants a contract or a quote, I can respond quickly because I've got templates sitting in my system that are ready to be tweaked and sent. So it's much faster. If someone makes an inquiry through my website, they come straight into my 17 hats. Not that they know it, but it's already pre-populated. So I already have all their information. I'm not double handling any information. It's all sitting in there waiting to go. So I can do automated responses. So once they've done their inquiry, I can respond to them immediately. I can send out a quote. Some of you that know me knows that I was on holiday in Greece last summer. An inquiry came through, and normally with my inquiries, I just sort of let them flow through the normal system of responding to them with an email, and then I know that I can handle it. I've sort of started the ball rolling, but I then get them to book a time with me. This particular couple were for a wedding. They wanted to speak to me urgently. They were coming to England from America and had decided that the celebrant that they had booked a year ago, what they weren't comfortable with, and they really wanted to speak to someone. I spoke to them immediately. I was able from my balcony in Greece to send them a quote, a contract, an invoice with automated payment options, and they paid and signed the contract. By the time I got to the restaurant that night from my balcony, I had secured that deal. I had spoken to them. I decided to take time out because of the predicament, but it was a 3 week lead time before the ceremony. It was an urgent requirement, so I decided to take that. But I was able to send them a detailed quote and contract immediately, like that, from my iPad sitting on my balcony in Greece. So that is why, one of the reasons I love it. It's so fast to actually get things done. I can do my invoicing. I can put reminders for payments, and I can do gentle reminders from the system so that if it's a wedding with three or four, however you do your payment terms, you can set that up with payment terms. And then as it's coming up, you can either do a reminder that it's going to be due soon, or I tend to do it because I do funerals as well, and it doesn't differentiate between the types of ceremonies. I will say, right, a day after the due date, send out this email, which is just a nudge to say, this invoice is now due. Here are the details on how to pay it. And then a week later, they'll get a slightly more stringent one from me. But it's I can control what the tone is, how it's coming out, and things like that. So there's none of this horrible sort of, oh no, I've got to contact them and let them know that their invoice is due or it's overdue. It automatically does it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to feel guilty about doing it. I do it in a way that's pleasant, but that's all part of this process that's in this system. I can take online payments, so people can pay with their credit card. I don't offer this to everyone. I choose, so for my weddings, it will cost me to have payments taken by credit card. But in terms of a service that I'm providing for my wedding couples, I am making it so easy for them to pay me, and I think it's a 1.5% through 17 hats, but of the bill. But for me, that is worth it. I'm prepared to charge a bit more, but to know that it's very easy for them to pay me. I also give them the option of bank account details and transferring into my bank account. And for funeral directors, for example, I only give them my bank account details. I will not entertain, losing money through payment systems for them. But for anyone else that I feel it's the right thing to do, I can elect to have that payment button clicked on, and then they can pay with one click to make it easy for them. It also gives me all my to-dos. So every morning when I open up my computer, the first thing I do is look at my to-dos. I can either snooze a to-do to tomorrow, but for all my processes, no matter whether it's a wedding that's 4 months away, a funeral that's tomorrow, a funeral that's today, or one that's in 2 weeks' time, I can see what I need to be doing at any point for any of those, and it will tell me what my to-dos are for every single ceremony that I've got in the process, including, those emails where I've had an inquiry through bride book, which is probably not going to go anywhere, but I put them into a holding pattern of an initial email, which is very enthusiastic and talking to them about the options and let's get onto a call. One a week later, that's I am still here, I'd love to talk to you, blah blah blah. And then a final one which I then have, which says, look, I haven't heard from you. I might have tried ringing them, but if I haven't gone through all that process and still I haven't heard anything from them, my last one is, I am still here. If you want me in the future, if you'd like to chat, you've got all my details. I won't hold the date for you, but please do come back to me and see if I'm still available. And that whole process I've just set up at the beginning, and it automatically just clicks through saying, right, I need to send that next email. Boom, okay, email sent. That's it. I've done it. I'm still keeping them warm, or I'm contacting them. I know that I'm doing that. So all these to-dos are incredible. And, so it's my admin assistant. I don't have anyone else behind the scenes here. It's literally me and my 17 hats, which is keeping everything ticking over, including reminding me for tomorrow's funeral to send an email saying, hi, just wanted to check in with you. I'm already at my end. I'll see you tomorrow. And just that extra step in, which quite often when everything's going on, you forget, oh, I should have emailed them really or rung them. That will remind me just to send that quick note out to them. And I know that I'm keeping my communication always, high up on the list of things to do. Now, I've put this screen up. This is the first screen you will come to when you set up with 17 hats. This is what it will look like. It will be all clean. It will have an area here which takes you through some of the bits and pieces that you might want to think about. You can click through those to start getting tips from them about how to work. Your calendar will be clear at the moment because there's nothing in your calendar. You haven't set that up yet. And everything else is just clean. Okay, so I am going to show you around on my one. But while I'm going to show you around, if any of you would like to enter a new inquiry, a dummy new inquiry for a wedding or a funeral or a naming, I'm going to put a link in the chat. This is the link I would have on my web page, on my directory inquiries. If I can put this link in, I will have it just anywhere that I want them to fill in the details of an upcoming ceremony. I will do that. So let me just, oops, let me just, I've lost you. Hold on, stop the share for a second. Right, I am going to send a link to you. This is a form that every one of you, if you have 17 hats, can adapt in your own way. And you will see on this form, and I will show the form later to anyone that's watching this on catch up, that it's a form you can adapt. I have it for weddings, funerals, baby namings. So you'll see that I have a drop down list asking them what it is that you're wanting me for. But I just wanted to show you this. So if you send in some inquiries, I will show you how they populate into my 17 hats. Now, what I'm going to show you now is my 17 hats. Hopefully you can see. Here you can see the blue 17 hats. Right. This is one I have set up purely for showing you how it works. It has none of my clients in here because I didn't want to in any way show anything that was confidential. But this is my 17 hats. My 17 hats. I will. Oh, just one thing. When you do an inquiry with me, you will not get an email response because I haven't set up my email on this particular 17 hats area. But normally you would get a response saying, thank you, I'll be in touch with you shortly, but you won't get that. So this is my 17 hats. I've got a number of things that I can show you. One is you've got this column down the side. This is your dashboard, which you're seeing now. That's dashboard. This will give you ideas of anything that you've got in your diary, in your online calendar. It might be 17 hats calendar. I do for my 17 hats also have my Google calendar on there. So any of my ceremonies are set up with Google, but I can see them in here. And any of my to-dos are sitting in the 17 hats calendar. And I then know when I'm in 17 hats, I've got to do this, this, and this. So, but what you're seeing at the moment is what I've set up initially. Now, at the moment, I've got one new lead and I've got a to-do sitting in my inbox. I can see recent activity. So I sent an invoice today, a dummy invoice to Alice Jones about Peter Jones. Alice Jones and Peter Jones, and I've a day ago I created a lead capture. I had a lead capture form came in, so I set it up myself. I filled out a lead capture form which came through into my 17 hats about an upcoming funeral. Now, what I can see if I click into my projects here is right. Oh, it's all starting to populate. Right. This is how it initially gets set up with these square boxes. I'm going to show you the way I prefer working, and each of you might prefer to working in different ways, is by clicking on this button here. I can see in a format which gives me project dates in a much more, in my head, it's much more logical way of seeing it. The orange means they haven't signed a contract yet. It hasn't gone through to actually, so they're leads at the moment. The green one has gone through to being a client. Now, so I can see that those of you that click to say that you are having a vow renewal, it's already told me it's going to be a vow renewal. It's come through my website because that is where I would have this lead form sitting. And the date is November the 29th, 2025 for this one. This is Jackie and James, and the client is Jackie Ross. So let me look at Jackie's. Jackie's just put this one in now. Right, so by filling out that form, I can see your email address is in there, that the date of your ceremony, your telephone number. It's gone into my calendar, into my default calendar. And I can see that Jackie has come through here. She's filled out to say it's at 7 o'clock. It's going to be at home. And if she put a message, it would have appeared there. I now have all this. I've done nothing. Jackie has been on my website, filled out this form. I immediately know what I want that she's here. And if I go into my dashboard, you will see I've got all of these new businesses that have come through. So I can see on my dashboard, wow, maybe just after a wedding fair or something, and people have gone through my website to fill out this information. So I can see I've got all these new leads. I've got this to do, which I already had in place from yesterday, and I have a workflow. Now, I'm not going to complicate things too much, but you can see already I have done nothing except sit and talk to you, and I have this information that has appeared in my 17 hats. So if I go back to my projects, which is just on here, if I go back to Jackie and James, I'll use this as an example for now. Have I got any funerals in there as well? Yeah, naming funeral. Right, funeral I set up myself. Oh, you've all come in with love today and all gone for weddings. So Jackie and James. Right, let's go back to Jackie and James. I have set this up so that I have got a workflow, and this is going to be a little bit complex for you at the moment to think about, and I don't want you to worry too much about workflows initially, but I want to show you the beauty of workflows. I have set this up so that when I get an wedding inquiry come in, it automatically sets up a new workflow. And when I look at this workflow, what I'm going to do now on this wedding is I'm going to check all the details are correct on my and fully up to date on my information on that front screen. I'm then going to send this email to Jackie, and I'm going to say, "Hi, Jackie, thanks for making contact. Uh, and then I've just put for you here, I build a picture of why having a celebrant ceremony will be so special. So I give them some feel good factor. I put in a little review here in italics. That's just me, I've developed over time. The good news is that date is currently available. I've double checked the date, I can see it's available. Now, this date here is being taken from the date she put in. So this is called a token. So I don't even need to type it in. It's already going to pull that information through from the where she filled it in. I'm going to talk to her. This is my rate. You'll get as much time as you want. My website's here, my Instagram, if you want to get more of a feel for me. Speak very soon, hopefully, and I can just click. I can tweak it, I can change anything I want to, but this is set up for me to say to Jackie, I can do your ceremony. Let's talk. So you could set it up so it automatically sends it. I don't ever do that with any of my emails. I always like to personalize them, check them, make sure that they're filling in the right information. Jackie's message may have said something in there which is particularly pertinent that I want to refer to, so I can send that email. So that would be sending the email. So already I've just had her inquiry. Within 5 minutes, I can have checked my calendar, sent this email out to her. Then on this particular workflow, I've said, right, 4 days after, if I haven't heard from her, I'm going to send her a WhatsApp just to make sure, just in case I've gone into her spam. You could set this up for however you want to do it. You can change the dates. I could. So this is the I've said, right, send a WhatsApp 4 days after the previous item's complete. Um, so it may be that you want to do that one day after just to make sure that you haven't gone into their spam. But this is where I say, I did respond to you. And bearing in mind, in my form, I asked for their telephone number for a very good reason so that I can follow this up. I'm going to send them a WhatsApp because I haven't heard from them. Then I may, if I'm going through this pattern of not hearing anything more from them, on the 26th of February, so that's next week, I'm going to say, "Hi, Jackie, how are your wedding plans going? Would you like a quick call?" Blah, blah, blah. So just nice, friendly email again, and I can send that on the 28th. So that will come up in my to-dos on the 28th or 26th, sorry. It will say, "You've got a to-do, you need to send this email." So then that will send. And if I've still not heard anything, I'll send a final email and then archive it, just keeping it open, but just saying, "Look, I haven't heard back from you." We've all been ghosted like that. But so that goes through the process. However, if she does respond to me, I've got it set up on my Remarkable, which is my folder that I use to for all my ceremonies. So when I'm talking to someone, I'll be scribbling in here. Whatever your folder is, you can change that to set up, your folder or whatever, and arrange a discovery call. So I might delete these off I'll delete these off if I've heard from her, and I'll go on to arranging a discovery call with her, and then I'll go on to my next workflow. And then I will set up my next workflow once all of this is complete and I'm still continuing talking to her. I'll, I'll create a new workflow. So I will go in, and I'm going fast on this, but I just want to show you the benefit of workflows at the moment. I've got all my workflows set up as funerals, weddings. So after my discovery call, I would then activate this workflow, which says, right, okay, send a proposal quote contract via email. This is telling me when to do it. So I'm getting all my to-dos by using my workflows. It is telling me what I need to be doing next. So if I go back to the project, Jackie has given me all this information. I've got these workflows going. So I now know that she's going through the process with me. I will send out my quote, which I can do from here, so I can create a new quote once I've spoken to her, which I want the contract. And here you would have your contract pre-populated. Whatever you wanted in your contract, you would have here, and you would save that. You would then have your invoice and say what your whether you want to accept online payments for it. So for weddings, I accept online payments, but I don't for my FD funerals, and the dates that that's due. I can also say, because I haven't got all the payment stuff set up yet, I could set up a payment schedule, say a deposit, a payment, a booking fee now, one in 6 months before the ceremony, one 6 weeks before the ceremony. I could set all of this up. So all the payments that I will go out to in this quote for Jackie, everything will be in there. How often I want to be paid, how much I want to be paid, what my terms and conditions are, and all of those invoice details will all go out to Jackie once I've set this up. So you can see it's a really, really all-encompassing project. So I can see at any point what I need to do. So when I come in today, I see I've got these new leads, so I need to set them off. But I can also see that I set myself a to-do for Laura and Ben. Now, Laura and Ben, I needed to check these wedding details were okay. I put in some dummy details yesterday when I set this up. And so I can check that. This is all on a workflow, remember. So now I want to send out this new wedding inquiry, an email, which is my first response to them. So that's the point I'm at with this particular ceremony. So if you look down the left-hand side, the buttons I use the most, I always look at my dashboard. I look at my projects regularly, so I will just go in and double check. Now this one hasn't got a date in it yet, so I need to check what that one is. They've not set a date. This has come from the form where she hasn't put in a date or a time. So this is someone that I will need to speak to because I don't have a date or time for the baby naming, but this may be just at very early stages and they're wanting to know what venues can I use, so this is a way of actually, right, let me get on the phone to them straight away and just see what I can do in terms of securing this and getting a date out of them, showing them their different options. So projects and dashboard I use frequently. They are my two main areas, but there is a lot of setting up to do in the first place. So what would I do if I'm setting this up from scratch? Well, the first thing you need to know is that this area up here is the area where all your settings are. Up in the right, you've got the cog sign, the account settings, and this document emails setting. So if I go, they both actually take you to the same space, but one is, if I click on documents, it's just taking me down to here rather than being at the top here. So both buttons take you into a similar area. This is where you do all your setting up. So what I would do first of all is set up brand preferences. At the moment, I've got a blue background. I only see this part of it. But when you go into your various bits and pieces that you send to the clients, this color tone, you want it to match your brand. So you can go in, you can set up your brand preferences. So you can choose your colors that match your brand. You can do all of that, which is just sort of a bit of a nice to do. It will probably ask you when you set up if you want to upload a logo. You still have the opportunity of uploading a logo here as you go across. So I've uploaded a logo for my simple SEO, but here, so you can do your brand colors, your image, your logo, any colors and fonts. So you can actually put in, if you know what your brand colors are, you can change the colors of your buttons that they press and things like that to really be on brand for you. So that's something nice to set up. It's not critical, but it does fit in with your whole image of your professionalism, etc., etc. So that's setting up brand preferences. I'd also set up your emails. I haven't set this up on my system yet. I have on obviously on my main system, but you need to connect your email account to here so that every time you send out an email, it comes from your business email address, not from a 17 Hats email address. And it responds back so you can see it both in your incoming mail, in your mail of your phone or your computer or whatever, but you can also see it in your 17 Hats. So you need to set this up as one of the first things to do, and you do that by connecting account. There is a lot of help on 17 Hats. They have this button up here, which will take you through into the question mark, which will take you into support. But they've also got this button down here, this chat button, which will take you in, and that you can either message them or you can look up to see various bits of training. So there is lots of training. So click on I would ask about search for help, set up my email. This is all in the initial training, though, that they send you. Email account. Here we are. So all sorts of things for syncing and setting up my email. It's got it on there. I'm not going to waste your time by going into those elements now, but it's all in there. So let's get rid of that. So I would connect your email account as one of your first things. Here, signatures. This is what comes up at the bottom of all your emails, and you can choose different signatures depending on what stage you are in the process. So I set up one this week, which has got my account. I'm the account. So my full name, my company name, my phone number, my website, just as a simple one. But I could just set it up in full writing. I could just put my telephone number in and have that. I could insert photos. Just remember, the more you put into a signature, the slower it becomes, and therefore it may appear more spammy to. But I do have a photo on my one of my signatures on the 17 Hats I use all the time. So I make that look nice. Some of them I might put at the bottom of it review details and asking for reviews. I would use that email if I'm going at the end of the process. I may have a different email address signature for my funeral customers than I might for my wedding customers. So I can set up a number of different signatures depending on what package you're on, depends how many signatures you've got. But set up your signatures here, and then every time you send out an email, when you send an email, so if I go back into a project here, I want to create an email. Right, I can choose which signature I want. So I can choose to have no signature in there. I can have a simple signature, depending on which one I've chosen. I've obviously not set this up to look beautiful. I've just set it up to show you that you can create that up front. So if I go back into the account settings, I would set up, when I'm looking at emails, I would set up your signatures, even if it's only one signature to start off with. Just have a signature in there that you can choose to have at the bottom of your emails. Reminders is where you are sending reminders out about things like questionnaires. Questionnaires can sit on here. So now you can have your questionnaires, you can set up your questionnaires and you can send them out from here automatically at whichever point in the process you want to send it out. So I can choose to say, well, I want to set up a reminder that I set a date for your questionnaire to come back by the 11th of February. It's now a day past due that. So can you send out an email which one day after the due date, and I can edit that. I can say, right, okay, this is the email that I'm going to send out. This is just a friendly reminder that the questionnaire from Modern Ceremonies is now past the due date. This sounds a bit formal, so I might sort of soften that a bit, but please do take a look at it. I can't wait to get going on your ceremony. I need this questionnaire. Please do set aside some time at the weekend, and then I can choose how many times I want to send out a reminder, whether I want to send out a reminder weekly or daily, or, and for how many times after. I can set all of that up, and that will be saved for anyone that I send out a questionnaire to. So they will just automatically get reminders. If they've gone past their due date for the questionnaire, they will get a reminder. Please go in and take a look at this questionnaire. So I can set that up. If I don't want to send out reminders for questionnaires, I just switch it off again, toggle it off. The same is for quotes, contracts, and probably more relevant to us. Contracts, I would probably do a reminder. Just if you got to that point of sending them a contract, then maybe you want to send a reminder just to get it to front of mind. But invoices, you can either set them reminders that they've got upcoming invoices, that they're past their due, and you can get more stringent about the emails you send out at each stage. So this is where you can set all of that up. So that is we're still in email settings and we're on reminders. Can do the same for confirmation. So do you want a confirmation every time they fill in a questionnaire? Do you want a little note to go to them saying, thank you, I've received it, that's great, I'll be in touch soon? That's where you can set all of this up in here. Or you can say, actually, I don't want to send an email after they've accepted a quote, because the process it goes through is quote, contract, invoice. So they're going to go from the quote. If they accept the quote, they're going to go straight to the contract. So I'm probably not going to send them an email at every step of the way. But, so this is where you can decide what your confirmations are that are automatically going out. You don't see them. They just literally go out from your account when they fill out one of your documents. Just going back to that, I do send out confirmations on everything apart from quotes. So as you see it now, that's how I've got mine set up. So I would do that as one of the things I would start from scratch, and I would work my way down this particular menu, which, as I said, has come from this settings button at the top here. Calendars. This is where you can connect if you work with Google Calendar or any other calendar, there's a number of calendars here that you can set up to work with 17 Hats. So I have actually only got the default calendar on here at the moment, which is the 17 Hats default calendar, which I tend to use for my to-dos. And then I've got my Google Calendar, which I have connected in, which then all my ceremonies, so I can see it on my phone, I can see it wherever I am, I can see anything that I physically need to be at a ceremony. I don't double book anything, that will be on my Google Calendar. Because I have my life on my Google Calendar. So I know if I'm on holiday, that's on my Google Calendar. Everything's on my Google Calendar. So set up your calendar would be the next thing I would suggest. The other benefit of using an online calendar, and you may decide you don't want to, and that's absolutely fine. You can just use 17 Hats and your paper calendar. It is double handling, but you can do it like that. The reason I also like Google Calendars is because I started off with Calendly, but I have TidyCal, which is an online booking system. So I can say to people, if you want to book in with me, this is my calendar, and I can show them set times that I want to be available. They can book straight into my calendar. So it's useful having my calendar online because I can take it up a step and people can book into my calendar. If we're struggling with dates and diaries, I will just send them that and say, look, take a look at my calendar. You find out between you as a family when you can do it. And then, we can just book in and we know that we've got the date secured. So I do like having TidyCal or Calendly. Right, so the next thing I'm going to look at in terms of setting up is, don't worry about Client Portal for now. That is something that's only on the top level, but it's a good little system, but don't worry about setting that up for now. Don't worry about online scheduling. All of that will come later. Users, if you ever want to work with me, that's where you would add me as a user, and then I can get in and take a look at your system. But the next thing I want to look at is documents and emails. Now, documents and emails, you can get in from this button, documents and emails up here, or you can get into it through the settings button. You can go in either way. And this is where I have all of my set emails, my quotes, my contracts, my questionnaires, my questionnaire emails, where I arrange meetings, how I send my scripts, my thank you emails are all in these documents and emails. These are all my templates. So as you can see, I've set them up in a logical way. So I've got all my funeral ones together. I've got all my naming ones together. I've got all my wedding ones together, and then there's some generic ones which are like thank you for payment or whatever. So, and if I've got specific vow renewal, but I tend to try and word it in a way that weddings and vow renewals are the same. So you can see if I've got VR, I know it's appropriate for vow renewals as well as weddings. So this is where I have all of my documents that I have set up over time to work through this process. And this is where I can go in and change them. So if I look, the other thing, just a tip, I put the type of ceremony it is at the beginning, and then I've put a number just because when I'm sitting here looking at it now, I can see the flow it's going through in terms of the emails. So I put all my ones together, and then I put twos, two A's, two, three. So that's taking me through that process. So it's a lot more logical way of looking at it. Now, a lot of you talked about weddings today, so let's look at my wedding emails. So I've set up these emails as templates, and then I can go in and I can actually I've shown you that one already. So I can maybe actually well let's just go in. I can edit this. I can duplicate it. So if it's a similar one that I want to use, any email that I use regularly or I use more than once, I will set up as a template, and then I know it's there next time I need it. I might not use it very often, but this is what the one that came up when I was talking to you before. So it's a regular email. It will pull through all this information. I can tweak it. I can change it. If I want to change my whole way of thinking, I can change it here at the template level. And I know each time I then use that email, it will come up as the newly designed email. So this is where I keep all my emails. Not just emails. So these are all emails at the top here. Then my invoices. So for example, my funeral director invoice has a set pattern. I know that it's going to pull through this information here with a price which I can edit. So I can say, right, okay, it's a single slot. It's a funeral ceremony, and this is the project name. The project name is the deceased. So John Smith's funeral ceremony on, and then I've got the date here. So that's pulled through from that front screen where I had all my information for that client. So there's no confusion. When I send this email, I know that the funeral director is seeing the name of the deceased and that it's a funeral ceremony. The ceremony on this date at this location. This is the price. If I want to change that here to 400, I can save it, and that will be then. So when my prices go up, that's maybe where I'll set my price. That will pull through every time that I create one after that. But I can go in and edit for a particular client. I can go and change that however I want to. I can also add items into my invoices. So I could add an internal item, which is maybe travel. I don't need to necessarily, it's quite self-explanatory, and I'm going to put in £60 because it's a long way from here. I've set it up so I know whether it's my funeral income, my baby name. This is something you can do later. You don't need to worry about this now, but I want it as funeral income. And save it. And now I know that every time I create this particular invoice, because I've changed it on the template here, it will come up like this. But actually, most of my ceremonies are local, so I'm not going to have that on the template. I can just add that in later if I want to, if it's a specific funeral that is costing more. So this is my template for my funeral directors. Yes, I don't want to save. So I've got my emails, I've got my invoices set up. And I've got more invoices, obviously, on my other one, but I just want to show you that. And then I've got my quotes set up. I've got contracts that I can set up with the contract name and questionnaires. So if I've got my first questionnaire to my couple, I will have a questionnaire set up for that. I need to go in and set up my questionnaires for this particular template, but I can go in and update questionnaires. So I can have all my different questionnaires, my ones only that go to the bride, the one that only goes to the groom, the one that, I can set up as I want it. If I'm meeting a family and they just want to fill out some information for me, I could set up a simple questionnaire asking about that person's life, you know. So I could set up questionnaires and send those out. These are all my templated questionnaires, um, emails and questionnaires. So I would look at maybe starting to think about those and setting those up. And as I say, I put them in a logical flow so they're not all over the place. I like to keep them sort of quite neat. Project fields was the next thing I was going to mention. Custom fields, right? So underneath your documents is custom fields. Here you can have certain fields for to appear on your front screen. So if I go back to my projects, I'm going to show you again Peter James. This is where this information goes to, and I have been able to edit this to make it useful for me. And back on that setup screen was where I made it useful. So I know here that it's a funeral or a memorial or a wedding or a vow renewal or a baby naming or something else that someone's come through to me about. So I've set these up on that setup page, right on those setup page. I have also set up for things like if I've got a wedding planner involved, if it's come to me through a wedding planner, I want to know who the wedding planner is. I want to know the location. This location I can use in my emails. So I know it's duplication. This one comes through automatically when I set it up. But this one I've set up because on emails I can use the token and it will come from venue location. So that's why I set this up as set again. I've got the bride's names, I've got the groom's names if it's a wedding, I've got the baby's name if it's a baby naming, I've got the deceased's first name. And rather than being him known as Peter, which is what the funeral director has come through with the name, I know his name's Pete by everyone, so I've called him Pete, and my main contact is Sarah. So things like that I have set up back here on my custom fields. So when I go into projects, here you see I've set up wedding planner. This was a field that I put in because I want that to appear. So you can change per project for all your projects what will appear in that box on the right. And it's just really useful place. So I would maybe set that up for now. But you can use the basic one initially, but this is how I found works really well. If I'm doing all three, if I was just doing weddings, I would have wedding planner, venue location, bride, groom, and main contact name, just because my main contact name is who am I actually speaking to in this couple more often. So I might have main contact name, but if I only did funerals, I would have the main contact name, the deceased name, and the venue location. So you know that's how I've found it works for me. So I would set up my project fields. And the only other thing I would talk about, there's a lot to do in here, but the only other thing I would set up at the beginning is looking at the money matters section. Here is where you can change your currency. So on your invoice options, I've set it to British pound. I've got my bank details, which I will appear at the bottom of the invoices. So my bank details are here. Sort code, bank account, name of account. I will set up there so people can pay me. If they're not paying me through the press the button here. If they want to just do a bank transfer or BACS payment, that's all my bank details there. So I would set up your currency and the account details for your footer. This is where you can also set up the payment if they press one button and they can pay that through a credit card or bank card. This is how much it would cost. Oh, so it's 3.2. I mentioned 1. Oh no, 1.5. I was right. 1.5% plus 20 pence per transaction. That's what you're paying if people press the button and just use their credit card. So you will lose from your bottom line, you will lose some money, but it makes it much easier for them to pay. But I don't use that for my funeral directors. So that's what I would recommend. And I know I'm flying through this, but go through these buttons up the top here. That cog button will take you through all your setup stuff. Your main working space is through the column on the left. Right. So you've done some of these basics. Now you want to test it. Set yourself up as a test contact and a test project so you can thoroughly test what is happening. I would highly recommend that before you go out to anyone else. And once you've tested your invoices, tested questionnaires and your to-dos, you can feel comfortable with all of that before you look at, all your 17 hats payments or your lead capture forms or your workflows. Get those basics in place where you're just sending an invoice to that person. Use your own email address or one that you have access to. So I would go through that first of all before going any further. Just do a good old test first of all. Now, what I want to talk to you now, and I've talked a lot, I know I've talked a lot, I'm trying to cover as much so you can really understand it. I am going to show you the flow of how I work on different, hopefully you're seeing, yeah. Right, so I work in different ways depending. If you're just a wedding celebrant, you don't need to worry about this quite so much. But if you do funerals, this is something that is important. The way you set up on 17 Hats is you work from your initial contact. Your initial contact is the person, the contact is the person you're going to be invoicing. So for funerals, the person you're going to be invoicing may well be the funeral director or the funeral arranger. So you go from a point of going from a contact, and then you create a project from that contact, and then you add in the person you're speaking to, the deceased family, as your related contacts. And then you go through sending emails, invoices, organizing your ceremony and getting your payment, but with your related content. Now, I'm going to show you what I mean by this. So let me stop that sharing. And I'm going to go back to my funeral. So on my funeral that I had set up is Peter Jones. Right. Now, if I look at my contacts, Peter Jones is in my contacts. No, he's not in my contacts. He's dead. Peter Jones is dead. He's my deceased. Let me go back to my project. Right, hold on. So Peter Jones is my deceased. Here he is. He is my project name. He is the person who is my project. My contact is Alice Jones. Alice Jones is actually a funeral director. I made up, I've called it Crawford's. I don't know Alice, I've just made it up. But she is my funeral director or my funeral arranger. So I've set up Alice, who's in my contacts. If I click back on my contacts, Alice at Crawford's is here. Contact, I won't click into it. Alice is my contact. And this is the big difference on how you set up a funeral through a funeral director to anyone else. She is the person I am invoicing, therefore she is my contact. The daughter is the person I'm speaking to, Sarah Smith. So I have added Sarah Smith in just by clicking on this, and maybe I'm also speaking to the son, John Jones. He is the son. This is his email, john@jones.com, and his telephone number is 09852. Right. So I've been told that I'm also keeping in contact with him. I now have these two contacts, but when I send my invoice, the invoice will go to Alice, but all my communication now, whenever I send a new email, for example, this email, it automatically comes up as Alice as the first point of contact. I've now got Sarah and John in there. So when I'm sending out my script, I will be sending it not to Alice, who's the person who I'm invoicing, but Sarah and John. And then I will send out any further communications to them. So you have to set it up in the way that whoever the invoice is going to, that is your primary contact. Now, if I stop sharing and go back into the flow again, for weddings, for private funerals, for baby namings, you can create a project from your main contact, whoever has contacted you. So, because that is the person you are going to be invoicing. So, if I'm dealing with the bride on this particular wedding, I create a project from my contact, who is the bride. She will get all my main emails. She will get all the main questionnaire as automatic. Once I've sent the questionnaire, I ask in my questionnaire what the groom or the other bride's name and contact details are. What are their email addresses? And once I've got that information, I would add the groom as a related contact. So if I go back again to a wedding, let me share my screen again. Sorry, I am jumping around, but you may need to look back at this over and over again. But when I look at a wedding, so let me look at one of my wedding projects. Let's go back to Jackie and James. Jackie was my main contact. Jackie and James, I know because I asked what the names, very carefully worded in my form, what the names were. So it's already pre-populated that it's Jackie and James. So I know James is the groom. But when I've got James's information, I'll add James here. With his, you have to put in the role. So that's the groom. And I put his email address, James at p.com, and it needs that format, otherwise it won't recognize it. And if I haven't got his phone number yet, so be it, I can add that at a later date. But James is now in my related contacts. But I can also put other related contacts for this. The wedding planner contact details, the venue contact details, all of these can be related contacts. And once they are in the system, they are remembered so that next time I have the wedding planner, I will be able to see in my contacts, once I've set all this up, that the wedding planner, say the wedding planner had been John Jones. I've got all their contact details. If I want to go in and edit the contact, I can go into much more detail. So any wedding planners I've got, I can have their email details, their company name. If I want to have birthday details about them, just because I want to be on top of, I've never used the birthday section, but you could use this for all of your contacts within the industry. Every time you use them, a photographer, for example, you could put the photographer into this related contact on your wedding project, and it will remember then that photographer. You've got all that contact details. Next time you need to go back to that photographer, you've got him in your system because you've added him onto that project, and it will remember that particular photographer. So it's very all-encompassing, but I think the best way to remember it is that when you're setting something up, the primary contact is the person that you will be sending the invoice to, and anyone else is a related contact that you might want to send emails to, and you can bring them into this project. So if it's a photographer you've worked with before, when you start adding him, he will come down in the drop-down list as you start typing his name out, because he will be remembered, and then you just save that as a related contact. So this is just a huge system for being able to remember information about anyone to do with any of the work that you do. So if I go back, I am almost coming to I've done an hour and I'm talking. But what I want you to see is there's two distinct flows. One is if you're dealing with a funeral director and you're paying them through the funeral director. And one is for every other type of ceremony you do. Your emails will take you through this process of quote, contract, invoice, questionnaires, ceremony. Or it may be that you go into a holding pattern of you've had no response, you follow up, and then archive. But at least you've been keeping on top of it and you're keeping that communication open. So that is the flow that I take. We've looked at our new inquiries. Right. I'm going to open it up to any questions. And I think I've probably just bamboozled you. I think you will need to go back and look at different parts of this. What I've shown you there is how you can set it up right at the beginning, how you can set it up for funerals through the funeral director, how you can set it up in any other way. But just remember, it goes from a contact, an initial contact, through to your project, and then you're working in your projects. It will change color when you've got a contract signed, so you know that they're your actual working contracts, and the orange ones are ones that you are trying to nurture and get to the stage of paying you or signing a contract. But what I have done, and I have worked on a lot in recent weeks, is setting up the workflows and the templates so that I can share them with you. So there's a lot of work that's gone into this, but I have some bundles now that are available on my website for wedding celebrants, for funeral celebrants, for naming celebrants, or if you want to go for the full bundle, you can go for the full bundle of all the options. But that will take you through your email. So you literally will get, once you buy it from me, you will get a code which you put into your 17 hats. And let me show you where you do that so that there's no confusion. But when you are in your documents section here, so you've gone through from settings into see your documents, you literally click on import. I will have given you a code, and then it will import all of my workflows and documents into your space that you can then tweak and change and move around as you want. But you've got the structure there, which has taken me 2 years to get to the point where I've really sort of got it working well into your system. The workflows you may want to come to later, but these are all the workflows that I have for funerals, for namings, for weddings, so that it will take you through. For example, a funeral director contacts you, says, are you available on such and such a date? You say, yes, I am. They say, great, I'll get the details through to you. I immediately start this workflow so that it is in my system. I don't know the name yet. I don't know the gender of the person that's died, because I tried to keep it gender non-specific on all my emails, and it got too messy and it wasn't personal enough for me. I just wanted to talk about dad as him, not as them. And I just felt, for me, I wanted to be more gender specific on all my emails. So what I do is I do an initial flow which says, right, okay, I need to update this. I need to chase the funeral director. If I haven't heard in a day or so, I need to get this information through. And then I can either set up my female workflow or my male workflow. And I can then do that as I need to. So that is what these workflows really help you through the whole process, so you never drop a ball. That is why I love it, but it also just streamlines my whole business. I'm sorry if I've bamboozled you. I wanted to cover as much as I could. It's not a it's quite an all-encompassing system, but once you've got it up and running, it is an absolute lifeline, especially if you've got your ceremonies are increasing in volume, you're getting more and more. What I would say with 17 hats, if you've only got one ceremony booked or maybe 3 ceremonies over the next 12 months, it's probably an investment you don't need to make yet. As you're getting busier, this becomes more and more useful. The only trouble is you need time to be able to set it up. So you need to find that sweet spot of being able to set it up with time and being able to put thought into it, but not waiting until you're so busy that you can't even, you're juggling so much you can't even fit it all in. So it is a process that I would take a quiet time. If you're wedding celebrants, maybe now is the a good time, or next winter when it slows down again, to set this up. But I would recommend this as a program. I have found an absolute lifesaver. This, I know I'm in safe hands when I look at this. So that's what I would say. What I will do is I'll put a link out. Don't worry about writing down the links or anything. I'll put these links out, but I just wanted you to see what it is and how you can get there. You can also get to it through the QR code. Um, are there any questions? I know I've probably bamboozled you. Does anyone want to say anything? Let me take me off spotlight so I can just see if there's anyone that's got any questions. Have I put you off? Yes, Tamara.
I actually put it in the, yeah, you can
Oh,
hear me.
sorry.
I
Yeah,
put it in the chat at the side. I missed the point where you could personalize the logos. You just had the sort of fill in names, but I missed the point where you could turn it into your brand.
right. So on settings, the settings buttons, right up on the top section here on my accounts, you've got
Yeah.
your brand preferences.
All
And
right.
then across here, you've got tabs.
Okay.
So you can change the words that people use. Submit is the standard. If you want to change it to something else, you can change it. If you want to
Mm.
change your color and fonts, but here's where you can upload a logo at this point. So I've already added mine, but there will be an add button there and you can upload it. But I think when you first set up, there is an option when you first buy the program and go into it that asks you if you want to add your logo in. So if you haven't done it there, you can do it here.
Okay.
But then
Thank
the
you.
beauty of this is, as you will have seen on my form, let me go into my lead capture forms. Um, the form that any of you filled in, the logo automatically draws through. So it's a nice way of professionalizing it and making it look, sort of clean cut. So that will appear there. It will appear on in various places if you want it to appear. I have literally only covered the main parts of this. There are all sorts of other things like there's a customer portal where if I go in and look at a particular project, let's go back to Jackie. Um, I can share this portal with the client where they can go in at any time. And this is only on the top level tier. So anyone that's buying new will have this. Anyone that's bought the middle tier won't be able to have this. But here I can put in it will automatically pull through any event details. So I know that the wedding is on the 29th. They know it is. If I've sent them an invoice, they would see invoice details here. They would have a link to their questionnaire here. They would have all these links in one place. What's past due? So if you go for the top level, particularly for weddings, you could also use it for private funerals, but I don't see the benefit in funerals really. For weddings and vow renewals, this is a lovely space to be able to have all the links that people can go in and click on their questionnaire and answer it rather than looking back on their emails.
Mm.
So there is all sorts of other things as well that you can do in 17 Hats, but as I say, that it's quite huge, but it's a fantastic system and it can be used for funerals as well as weddings. Yes.
Justine, sorry,
I,
technophobe here.
no
Um,
problem.
when you published November time in the Black Friday deal that you could upgrade your 17 hats or repay, because my annual renewal, I think, was due to run out in March or April, and you could buy in advance. And I'm not even sure you can answer this, but do you know, because I bought it back then in advance, will I automatically be upgraded to the upper package, or will I
No,
still
no, I
ask
asked them this
you?
yesterday because I thought this question might come up. I asked them this yesterday. Um, you can carry on renewing at your current level. So I too bought in February. And then when Black Friday deal comes around, they do a 50% renewal. Now I can give you 50% reduction for your first year. So if you buy now, through my code, through any code, but I have got a code, you will get 50% off your first year. Now, in Black Friday, what they have done every year, and I thought they weren't going to do it last year because it got to the wire, and I thought, oh, they're not going to do it. I'm going to have to pay full rate this year. I renewed on Black Friday at the same rate as I was paying in February. I renewed again and kept the 50% off. They honored the 50%, and I was able to keep the same deal. That isn't guaranteed. They change things. So it may well be that, but she's saying to me, when you renew, you can keep on your same package that you're currently on. That is what she said to me. So you wouldn't be forced into but whether the Black Friday deal offers all packages 50% off, or whether they'll only offer you 50% off the top package, I don't know.
Yeah, because I'm still trying to work out whether it's going to be worthwhile moving forward, whether it's worthwhile getting the premium package. And it would be potentially if I was getting 50% off.
Yes.
It maybe wouldn't be if I was paying full price.
Yes. Well, I think currently it's 50% off on the top price brings it to $300,
Mm.
which is $25 a month, which I think for what you're getting here, which is like 20 quid a month,
Yeah.
is not bad. If you're on the medium package, you're paying less than that. You're paying $150, which, you're paying, I've got to do my maths now, but yeah, you're doing $12 a month, which is really good. So I kept at the standard package until the tail end of until Black Friday, and I upgraded to the Premier package on Black Friday simply because I wanted to be able to show all of you guys. I couldn't do it on my live system and have all my funerals on there and stuff because it is my working space, and I just didn't want to risk divulging any information and putting it out there into the big wide world. So that's why I've gone for it. But I have seen the advantages of a lot more of the automation. A lot you can automate instead of being reminded that you need to send this email and go in and create the email. I can now on my pro system just say, right, create the email, and it will create the email straight away. So there are advantages to it. The other advantage for wedding celebrants is the portal, where you've got that information. You can just share the portal with your clients, and they've got all the invoicing information, all the contract information, all in one place. Everything, questionnaires, all in one place, and they can refer back to that at any point. The only
So would your
downside,
templates work with the standard package?
yes. I've made sure it
Okay.
works with the standard package. The only downside I would say to the portal for wedding celebrants is that you cannot define for your individual questionnaires who can access it. So in theory, the groom could look in on the bride's questionnaire and the bride could look in at the groom's. That is the only downside that I have found. Yeah, I was going to show you something. I can't show it to you on this system. Let me just show you if I can show you one thing. Oops. I'm just going to look to see. Right, so I'm going to show you. This is on my live system now, but it's one that it won't divulge anything. Is on the portal. You can also personalize it. So I've got a welcome on every single portal that comes through with links to how they can contact me, some links to some vow inspiration stuff like that. I've got that at the top of my portal. Yeah, there's no other information in this one, so that's why I was able to share it with you. But you can personalize it to that extent in that you can put information, but the same will go to each of your clients. So that's another downside, is that there's no particular actually I have found a way around this. which I can share with you on another occasion. But you can have that portal which has information in it, which is really useful, but that is only available on the Pro system. So, but I wouldn't go to that yet until you are really comfortable with what you're doing and just see whether that's something you want to do in the future. But as I say, if you're joining new, that will be an option for you that you will have in your package. But I have got 50% off for any new people. You will get it from $600 to $300. But every Black Friday they have offered a renewal at that half price. I just hope that they're going to keep doing it. But yeah, we're in their hands. So that, ladies, is
I'm shattered listening to all that.
I've spoken quite a lot today already.
I'm going to go away and just weep in a corner.
No, don't be overwhelmed by it. I can help you with the workflows and I can help you with the templates. If you want help setting it up, I can sit and help you set it up. The only thing is that I would need you to add me as a user, and that might have a temporary fee, for a month is all we'd need is to add me on for a month, and then I can come in and I can help you set it up. I would do it with you so you can see what I'm doing. But I can help you on a one-to-one. So I've got a couple of different options. One is a full setup. One is just 30 minutes of questions and or just go in and get the templates and play with it yourself and see what you want to do, or set up from scratch. It just took me a long time to get to the point where I had flows that I felt really worked for all the different types of, because it's not set up for celebrants, it is set up for photographers initially.
Justine, will this be available as a recording?
Yes, and I'll send out the link. And you will need to go back and look at, stop it in places and look at what I'm showing you. But I had to go at that rate just to fit it in as it is. We've gone well over an hour.
I really appreciate that. It was very helpful. Thank you.
Problem.
Really helpful.
Tracy,
I've just put a couple of questions in the comments because I had to do it as I thought about them because I'd forget.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
So admin users, how many can you add? Can you add as many as you want? And did you say you have to pay for them? Because I always think about if anything happens to me, not that I'm a morbid thinker, but that one of my daughters can get into my...
They'd be able to get into it though if they can sign in on your computer. Or I have it on my phone as well. So
okay.
I can on my 17 hats, I literally will go in and I can see all of my
Yes,
to-dos.
I've got that on my phone. So they'll be, okay, yes, I hadn't thought about it.
So they can get in.
And
Once you're signed in, you're signed in. So it doesn't
Yeah.
matter, unless you're signing out every time, that won't be a problem. I don't know this, but I think on the pro level, you automatically get more than one user.
Right.
I would have to double check that. I'm not 100% sure on that. Certainly on the standard, you only get one user. I know that. And then you can add someone in for, I think, £8 or so. I can't remember what it was, but for a month. And that's all I needed to then help other people.
Yeah. And another question I've got is how many, so the contacts, sorry, am I okay to talk?
Yeah, please do. I've just seen Jackie's already bought it. She's jumped ahead of everything.
The contacts, because I do use it. I'm sort of like, I've still got a lot to go, really, which is why I'm not going to quite go for the Pro one just yet, because there's still a lot I haven't used in the other one.
Yeah.
But on your contacts, can you categorize them? So you talked about the photographers and the wedding planners, which is brilliant.
Yes.
But you have to remember their name to go through all your contacts. So can you categorize them into,
I'm wondering, I've not gone back in that way. Let me just see. Yes, what you could.
Would you color code them?
Yes, you could put a tag. I'm having to think on my feet here, but on a contact level, can you add tags? Yes, you can add a tag. So a tag, so you could put photographer. And then when you go into your contacts, every time you have a photographer, you give them the tag of photographer.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you were just to type in photographer or photo or whatever into your contacts, anyone with that tag would come up.
Fabulous. I did
I
wonder
use
what tag
tags
was
at
for.
project level.
Yeah.
I use tags at project level because I tag all my funerals. So funerals 2024 or funerals 2025 as we're in now. Every funeral that I do, I give that project a tag of funeral 2025. I also give a tag of the month that they're in. So February 2025. So if I want to search and see how many I've done in February, I can pull up any with that tag and I can immediately see. I can see any for the whole of 2024. I can see from a tag that they were a wedding in 2024 or a funeral in 2024. I also put on tags for the venue, so I know all my funerals that were at this particular creme or all my weddings that were at that venue. I put in a tag. So tags are really useful, but you could put tags in at contact level rather than project level and have all your photographers with a photographer tag or a florist.
And can you put more than one tag on each one? On
Yes.
each...
Yeah.
Oh, fabulous. That's
So I have yeah, let me yeah, so let me show you. So share screen, share. So with my project here, Peter, I will then click on this pencil here. And for this project, I've already tagged it Funeral 2025. I would also say, because it's happening in February, so I've got Feb, and because I've already put this in once before, it's remembered it, so Feb 2025. I'd also say it's at Vinters, and I would create a new tag for that. And next time I type in Vinters, it will, oh, it didn't work, hold on, Vinters. Next time I type in VIN, it will automatically remember that. So I can now search in the future for anyone with the tag, and I just save that at the bottom. So when I'm looking at my projects, I can click here and say anyone that was funeral 2025. I can see my list of anything. And the same as at a contact level, you could do that.
brilliant.
Yeah. So I've started using tags. It's not something I showed you now, but again, it's something that has become useful. Now I went back and I put tags on all my previous ceremonies after that, because then for the last 2 years, I can search by anything. So if you can do that up front, great. But what I don't want to do is I'm aware I'm throwing a lot of information at you. So yes, there is a way on contact level you can do that as well.
Fabulous. Thank you. I've got one quick more question because I know that I don't want to take anybody's time, but how do you link your website contact form to your 17 Hats lead form? Do you do it through 17 Hats or do you do it through your website?
Through your website. So so I'm going up to settings again. I'm going down to look at my lead capture forms. This is a lead capture form that if you've bought the bundle, you'll get this with it, or any of the purchases. I've put this into every single one so you can see what I do as a celebrant. You click on this install form, and then here you can get a link to it. So here, if you had, I would just copy that. And then on my website, I have got all of these contact buttons here are linked. So where you have a button, you set up a button on your website, you just paste that link in to your button so that when you set up your button to go somewhere, you just
Yeah.
link it to that external button. And then I click on that, and sure enough, whoever's on my website has just clicked into my form. So I've copied from 17 Hats that link, and then I've pasted it into a button.
Okay.
There are other ways of installing it. You can embed it into your website, but so that it shows, like you might have a form on your website that you can see. I found it slowed my website down. so I took it off. I did start off initially by having the form down the bottom here of my website, and I just found it slowed my website down. So here again, everywhere, I just capture that information. It's all going into my 17 hats. It doesn't matter where they click that they want to contact me, they are going into my 17 hats so that I have stored all that information from them.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah, Lisa's got a question.
Can I just ask a quick question? On the templates,
Yeah.
with the questionnaires, have you got the full questionnaires that go out to the couples, and can we tweak them?
I haven't put the questionnaires on there because they are so personal to anyone that has, but it's very easy to set up a questionnaire. I can do a separate little walkthrough on how to set up a questionnaire and tweak it. But take your original set of questions that you've got. If you've got two screens, you can copy it from one screen if you've got it open and paste it into your 17 hats questionnaire. And once you've got your 17 hats questionnaire, your main questionnaire set up, then that's the setup. When you send it out to an individual client, if you already know some of the information, you can pre-populate it. If you already know some of the questions, sort of aren't right for that particular couple, you can remove them or tweak them or change them before you send it out. But you'll still use your templated questionnaire that you have set up, but you can tweak it according to your own client and then send that personalized one out, but have the main structured one that you can send out to most people, have that there.
And is that within the 17 hats that you can click a button that says questionnaire and then you set it up?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't created a questionnaire for a while, but so 1 minute. So I will go into my documents and down at the bottom are questionnaires. Where did I go into to create a new questionnaire? Oh, I can't remember now where I created a new questionnaire. Add document. Right, add document. So I went into my main dashboard down the side, add a document, create a questionnaire. Oh no, that's going. I'm going to have to show you separately. I haven't created a questionnaire for 2 years, so let me come back to you on that one.
No, don't worry, that's fine. I just
I'll do
want
a little workshop on creating a questionnaire.
Lovely, thank you.
How are we done? Have we answered all the questions? I haven't looked through the writing on the side.
So just a quick one from me, Justine. I've done nothing. So shall I do some of the basics first before I add those templates? Or can those templates just go straight?
You can put them in there. You can put them in. What it will say as you load them, it won't have wedding as the first bit. It will have shared or something like that. It puts a word in front, but you can go in and edit it and just change that. But just download it, get it into your system. Yeah, there's no rush. You can do it either way. There's no rush. Just go through setting up first of all, and then start introducing and playing with it a bit.
Perfect.
And if
Thank you.
there's any problems, because I've not ever shared before on this, I'm jumping straight in. So if you do encounter any problems with any of the downloads that you've got, please do let me know, and I'll make sure that anyone that follows is corrected and that I tweak it for you. But I've done as much as I can. It's been quite all-consuming trying to make sure it's shareable and all the rest of it. But please do let me know if you've got any issues at all, and I'll make sure that it's tweaked and changed and re-downloaded.
Thank you.
Sarah, you got a
Wonderfully
question?
helpful. Thank you.
You're very welcome, Sarah. Oh, you're muted, Sarah.
Just a quick one, lovely. I've looked at 17 hats on and off and thought, but I'm not convinced that I do enough ceremonies in a year. I mean, it's the number I want to do, but is there, in your opinion, and it's only that I'm asking for, a kind of break even? How much do you feel you need to be bringing in order to justify?
If you're thinking of it as £20 a month, that's where you're looking at spending.
Is
I
it a
don't know. It
monthly
will free up
payment?
more of your time. It will free up more of your time. So if your time is valuable to you, then it gives you more time away from a lot of the everyday nuts and bolts of running your business.
Mhm.
In terms of paper, I'm paperless. I run everything on there so that I can just, it is all on there, and so I don't have lots of. In the past, I had all my plastic wallets with all my pieces of paper in. I don't do that anymore. Yeah. So everything is
Trusty daybook.
yeah. Well, I have my Remarkable and my computer, my phone, and that tends to be where I sit. I mean, I don't know. It depends what you feel comfortable with. It's in terms of efficiency. If you look at my reviews, certainly with funerals as well, I get a lot of communication was amazing. Well, that's because I just have places and my to-do comes up, and first thing in the morning, I am sending out those emails and and thinking, right, okay, that's done. That can now wait for another 2 weeks. I don't need to go back to that for another 2 weeks. So in terms of it just depends on how you feel and the professionalism of having a portal for your clients, or having your questionnaires and quotes and contracts available to send out like that without having to sit and just copy paste it, redo it with all the right names. It pulls in that information, so I save a lot of money. I think it looks really professional. And so that's, to me, was worth it. But it did take me a while. I started off using Trello for moving things around and having a visual on everything I had, which is free. I had Google Docs for all my spaces where all the documents and things that I needed to have. And I created a portal on the back end of my website, so that for every couple they had a page that no one else could see on my website. But the work in terms of setting that up, I did streamline it and I got it quite nice and tweaked. But I have had feedback, especially from foreign couples that have come from abroad for the wedding, is that it just meant they had a space that they could go to. I now have that in my 17 hats, and it pulls it through automatically rather than me setting it up. And I used to dread having to set up all my weddings for the year because I knew it was going to be a mission to set it up. Once it was set up, I knew it was there. But now I have it. So it just depends what's right for you. So
Okay.
it really does. It's not going to be right for everyone.
Okay, but how would you cope then with what I call the incidental emails from your couples? The ones that you've sent out the forms and you said, I always say, if you have any questions, please ask. I'll always answer them. But I very often get little questions that don't kind of fall under any official category, but constantly need a response, lead a response.
Yeah, so let me show you this section of your project. Now, bearing in mind, I haven't got email set up on here, but when I've got a section down here, so I did send out a thank you for your inquiry to Jackie.
Yeah, I got one
Oh
too.
no, it was a blank, so I haven't set anything up for it. Okay. Oh, so it's pulled it through from my normal because it's all linked in. But any emails would come through here. So I sent that email out. If Jackie was now to send me an email again, it would appear in here, but it would also appear in my dashboard. So any new emails would come in below that. In the section below, I would have any new emails that have come in only for people that are in my contacts, only for the ones that I've added as an extra contact or my main contacts. They will pull through in this section, and I'll have a section below here which is any new emails. So I'll not only get it in my email inbox, but I'll get it here as well, and it will appear in the project. So I will be able to see that every time Jackie has emailed me, I will be able to see it in my email section.
Okay, thank you.
I can also add files. So anytime I have a funeral director send an efficient whatever they call it, memo,
Minister's confirmation.
whatever they all call it something different. I upload it into here. So I know that I've always got a copy of that in this particular project. Any to-dos, if I want to create a to-do that I need to do, I just suddenly think of something. Oh, for Jackie, I just need to remember tomorrow I need to send email. I can literally do that for tomorrow at 9 o'clock, and that will come up in my to-dos tomorrow. And I know that tomorrow I won't forget that. So if there's something just quickly I need to do, I can have a phone log. Every phone conversation I've had, I can do a little phone log and just log what the conversation was, so that I remember that I did call you on Wednesday. There was no answer. I can do that if it's something that, I don't use it a lot, but I do tend to use it on my funerals. So there's this section down here, and any notes. So if I just want to add a note in, Jackie is another celebrant. And it's just in my notes. I know that if I close that down, because I've got to a stage, I can just look in my notes and go, oh, Jackie's another celebrant. I know the anticipated time of the ceremony is 7 o'clock in the evening. That hasn't come through to this pre-populated because it won't put a time in. So I've got it set up so that it appears in my notes, so I can just copy that in to my this area here and update all of this with what the time is of the ceremony. So I know it's pulled through from that question that it was at 7 o'clock in the evening, was it?
Yeah.
So I then save that. So I've got my notes here. I can see in my notes anything. That was the message that Jackie initially sent me, was test Justine. So I've got a note there. So when I'm sitting talking to my client, I'm sitting here talking to my client, maybe on Zoom or with my phone by the side of me. I've got any notes that I want, that I've noted down, that something I need to ask, something I need to be aware of. Oh, they've got a daughter called Lara. She mentioned that when I met her at the wedding fair. Right, let's get that in there. So when I'm talking like I know exactly what's happening. I've put it all in my notes. I've just added things in, or and I know that my to-dos. Tomorrow, when I look at my dashboard, I will have a to-do tomorrow that will say that I need to send an email to Jackie or call Jackie or whatever it is, because I've put that quick note in that project. So it does so much. But
it's all in the setup, though, isn't it?
It's all in the setup, and it's starting to use it slowly, building it up, then building. Once you've got to grips with, right, okay, I know how this works now. Right, now I can maybe start working with workflows, because this workflow that Justine set up, this takes me from this point to this point to this point, and actually it will take you all the way through the possible scenarios that might happen. But I know that I want to send the script then, or I want to send a quick message the day before. All of that will be into the setup. And if I haven't received something back, I know that I'll get a reminder, or I can put a reminder in. I need to chase this because I still haven't heard from the funeral director or from whoever. I'll even have reminders in my workflow to download either to print my script or download my script. Double check the music is downloaded okay. That is all in check my rituals are all completed. Right, I know I've gone through all that checklist, which you probably do on paper at the moment, but it can all be on the system.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
It's a big step.
It is a big step. And yeah, if you're not sure, then maybe think about doing it for next year's couples and introducing it in the winter, or starting off with it and just starting off with some of your later ceremonies, and maybe. But I think the more you use it, I think the more you'll find that it's worth looking at. I've it's saved me a lot of time, and it's professionalized a lot of what I do in terms of to the end user, because I can react so quickly. I can do things quickly and get it out there and know that it's accurate. My contract is the latest contract that I am using, and I know that it's detailed and it has everything in that I want.
Thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very much.
I apologise for bamboozling, but do go back and look at this at your own time and start thinking about how to set up initially and how you then want to take it going forward.